Hello, it's Lorianne, and I am the host of Bleep Bulimia. And today I'm so pleased to have Andrew Parr with us. He is a hypnotherapist, personal development specialist, uh, and British author of The Real You. He's had 34 years experience and 20,000 client sessions. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hello, Ian. Thanks for having me here. It's really great to be here. Looking forward to chatting with you.
Thank you. So I'm curious, so what inspired you to follow this path?
It was one of those classic stories of my life fell apart, to be honest. It wasn't a big career plan. I was in my early 20s. I was a punk rock guitarist in London by night. I was a consultant engineer by day, having two quite promising careers in both directions. And then suddenly, both of them got cancelled within months of each other. Tour got cancelled, contract got cancelled, and my life fell apart a bit as well. I'd been on a bit of a roller coaster for a while because a few years earlier, I lost both my parents to within a couple of months of each other. My mum died of a brain tumor. My dad died of a heart attack when I was 21. So there'd been this bumpy ride for a while, and I think I'd been pushing it and burning the candle at every end. And suddenly I found myself sat on the floor of a little flat in North London thinking, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And this little voice came back to my head, said, find out about hypnosis, because I'd seen it on TV some years earlier. And I picked up the Yellow Pages, which was a big, thick book back then, called a few numbers and just got interested. And I thought, oh, this is interesting. And then decided, well, why don't I do this? There's nothing else I'm doing right now. So why don't I just do this? And that was, 3.5 decades ago now. And I just kept going and, I've started off in the world of hypnotherapy, but also developed my own style, my own methods since then for helping people really what I call dehypnotize people rather than, clicky fingers and swinging watches. I tend to go in and help people undo what's happened to them. So I call it dehypnotizing from the emotional conditioning in their life. And that's really where I've spent most of my life specializing in and training and teaching people in.
Wow, that's quite a story. Uh, and one thing I do like is being here is you talk about feeling stuck. If you can expand on that for my listeners.
Feeling stuck in clients, and helping people. Yeah, sure. So what tends to happen is they'll have some kind of emotional conditioning inside of them that makes it difficult to move forward and difficult to make a change, or that they can't go back, they can't go forward. So they just find themselves stuck in some way or caught between two decisions. That creates an awful lot of anxiety, a lot of stress, and then people will reach for some kind of behavior to try and manage that or cope with that. And that could be drinking, gambling, addiction, self-sabotage, all sorts of things, or it could be an eating related issue as well. It depends which direction people go. So the stuckness is the problem, or the layer one problem, and then a problematic behavior will come from that. So rather than trying to deal with a problematic behavior, which is really designed to help the person feel better, and the stuckness, what I tend to look for is what's underneath it, what's making the person stuck in the first place. Because if I can undo that for the person, they become unstuck, then they don't need the anxiety, then they don't need the behavior, and it all goes away by itself. It cascades away. So that's my, in a simple nutshell, what's keeping someone stuck 3 levels deep rather than managing the surface symptom. That's what I always look for.
That's interesting because being on Bleep Bulimia, bulimia is one of those that we reach out for and then we feel stuck because
Yeah.
now I don't know what the word is. Some people call it addiction. Some people call it all sorts of different things. But ultimately, uh, it's catch 22 because you're dealing with food that you can't give up, right? You have to make a relationship with that. But then it's also where does this all stem from? It's interesting. You said you go 3 layers deep, but that can't be a simple process.
It's not always simple, but it's a lot simpler than what people realize. If we take that literally 3 levels deep, there's the situation, which is the surface level. There's what's the feelings within that, the feelings and emotions within it. That's the next level. And then where does that leave you down here? That's the bottom level. And that thing down the bottom, where it leaves you, that's usually the problem. And if I can help someone get to that level, then often we can resolve things that have been there for decades, but people just don't realize they can change because they're so used to trying to deal with it up here and here, they don't know there's another level that will set them free. And yeah, bulimia is from my experience, I've had lots of people with bulimia comes about for different reasons. Initially, very often it's the magic cure. It means I can binge, I can eat, I can overeat, I can do this, and get rid of it. And I've got, I have the best of both worlds. And then, as I'm sure you're aware, your listeners are aware, the solution becomes a problem. And then you can't control it, then it's out of control. So I've spent many, many hours with people suffering with this, not talking about food. I let them tell me my story, tell their story, and I say, right, the food isn't the problem. It's what you're feeling inside is the issue, and it's what's creating the feeling is the real issue. So let's go to that. And if I can help people deal with that, then they tend to stop the binge eating, and the bulimia is often a solution just to binge eating. So sometimes bulimia, not always, sometimes it's a binge eating problem, and bulimia is the way is coping with it. Sometimes, though, as I'm sure you're aware, it becomes an issue in itself, and the desire, the thrill for the binge becomes the addiction. There's a release, there's a thrill there, an adrenaline rush, and then you've got to get rid of it. So that's part of it as well. So there's a whole range of surface level things which I'm sure you and your listeners are familiar with. But I listen to those and I say, right, great. Now I know what's going on in your world. Let me get it here. Let me get here. Let me get here with you, so we can, sort it out from the foundations, from the root cause, should we say? And that's what I've always done with all sorts of problems, including bulimia.
That's wonderful. Yeah, it's interesting because I think sometimes even on the bulimia side, we have an understanding of what's going on. So, anger, frustration, that could lead us to, so it is emotional. I know when I quit, I had to deal with all those emotions, and
Mm,
that's the point. We don't want to deal
yeah,
with them,
that's right. Yeah,
right? So
yeah,
that's where the food comes in because you're going, no, I'm just going to eat this up and then and throw it all out.
yeah,
And it becomes
mm,
almost like ritual. It's horrible because it is.
mm.
It becomes ritual.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, you're right. It can be triggered by events, or it can be you plan it each time of day. There's a regular thing. This time of day, this is what I do, and this is what I do as a result of that. And actually, what I noticed with a lot of people as I helped them come out of it was they still did the behavior for a while, they still did the ritual, but they said, "Well, I'm doing it, but I don't know why I'm doing it anymore. I'm doing it because it's something I do rather than I think I need to do." And those are words I look for. I was like, "Ah, this person's halfway out. We're nearly there." Because if they do it as like, "Well, I don't need to really, but I'm just doing it," that means it's a habit now. It's not an emotionally driven compensating behavior. Yeah, because as you said, as you rightly said, the behavior itself is designed to stop us feeling something.
mhm.
All right. And the moment we stop that behavior, we're going to have to feel what we don't want to feel. And the moment we can be brave enough to feel what we don't want to feel, face that, go through it, deal with it, something I always say is on the other side of that fear is the freedom we're looking for. But there's a scary doorway to go through to get there. And that's what I've learned to do is take people through that doorway safely together so they can come out the other side and feel free.
I love it, and that's why I love having guests like you on here because it's important for my listeners to feel comfortable, and if they are going to reach out, to feel comfortable with the person they're reaching out to, and
Mm,
if they feel that there's something that really motivates them, say, you know what, yes, I like that idea. I like this process. And of course, there's one thing about bulimics is very hard to reach out because there's a lot of shame included with that.
mm,
Um, and particularly midlife because they're sitting there, here I am. I was 48 when I became bulimic free, but um, I'm in my 40s thinking this is embarrassing. I know it's not good for me. I've been doing it since I was 18, and
mm,
you don't want anyone to know that really by now you should have known that this is something you should stop, right? But I find it interesting what you said, that it becomes something too that even when it's not necessary. So I guess in a sense, a certain part of my life, I felt, um, I don't know, I wouldn't say trapped or anything. I just felt that I didn't have control of my own life. There were other, situations that were making me feel out of control so that my food
yeah.
became my control, that type of thing. But
Mhm.
then all that went away. And I remember my sister in the story I've told before, where she said, I know I was staying with her because I'd lost my business and everything. And you'd think that that would be a time that I wouldn't quit. But it was like weird because I didn't have the stress of business. My divorce was finalized. It was just me and time to, revisit my space in life. What am I going to do? Where am I going to go? And I said,
Mm.
there's nothing there that used to trigger it. That So why am I doing it?
Right.
And that's when her recognized, I'm there for you. I love you. The next day I sat there going, why am I even doing this? There's nothing that used to hit those triggers. But it's that realization.
Mm.
But not everyone it has that position that I had. Some of them, that those control elements that they feel are still there. How would you help them work through that?
Yeah, good question. And well done for doing that, by the way. I know how much courage that must have taken to get to that point. I honor that in you. So well done for that. Incredible. How do we get someone to that point? Well, something we have to realize is that very often there's something in us that's keeping us in those situations in the first place. So bulimia is a symptom, is a issue, but there's going to be another issue that's keeping us in the difficult relationship or the stressful work or the poor health or whatever it may be. And so the issues are often multi-layered. So if someone came to me with that kind of situation saying, I'm stressed at work because my boss says this or my colleagues say this and I can't do this and I can't do that, I wouldn't bother trying to manage those or deal with those at all. I'd be thinking, what is this person fundamentally emotionally conditioned to experience? Because if I can get down to what they are fundamentally emotionally conditioned to experience and help them let go of that, then actually they'll find that either their situation will change, their relationship will change, their work situation will change, or their social situation will change. And with that, a lot of pressure will fall away. And then they have that moment you described where you think, well, actually, I don't need to do anymore. I'm not feeling like what I was feeling. And so there's multiple layers to it. It's always what's keeping the person in the situation. Let's resolve that. And very often it's younger day stuff. Not always, but very often it's childhood, teenage years, or maybe some kind of adult onset trauma. There's usually something there that's making the person doubt themselves, feel they're not good enough, not feel worthy of love, should we say, or not feel safe, have a sense of helplessness or powerlessness. That's a common one. Not fitting in, don't feel accepted, don't feel belong, or equating love with pain in some way. Love equals hurt, love equals rejection, love equals shame, whatever it may be. So there's some kind of negativity around love. When you put this together, that's usually what's going on in the core of this with someone. So you have to unpick that and help them deal with that. So they do feel worthy, they do feel safe, they do have a sense of control, they do find they have a place in the world, they do fit in, they belong, and love equals pleasure and warmth and kindness and support and all those kind of things. And then someone blossoms and flowers, then they don't need a compensating behavior because they're feeling good. And that's the journey we've got to take someone on.
I love it. So let's move on to, I'm curious if you could speak to us a little bit more about your book, The Real You. I love the title, by the way. So
Yeah,
tell us
great.
about it.
Sure, yeah. The title came about because, thousands and thousands of client sessions. And so many times as people solve their problems, I noticed that they started using words saying, I feel more myself. I can be myself. I feel lighter. I feel free. I can finally be myself, is what people said to me hundreds or thousands of times. And it was almost like every problem was stopping someone from being their self. So every time I helped someone solve a problem, they could be their self more. They could get back to their real self, the real you is what I called it. So when Penguin asked me to write the book, they said, "Can you write a book on hypnotherapy?" And I said, "No, I don't want to do that. There's loads of great books on hypnotherapy. Just leave it alone. But I will write you a book on transforming lives." And they said, "Great. Can you make it like a let's do it ourselves version?" So I said, "Okay." And the first part of the book is really a very easy read, learning about yourself, how your mind works, different layers, consciousness, subconsciousness, inner workings, all this kind of stuff. And then the second part is it's my attempt to take you through what I would do in a client session, but with you yourself, which is always harder by itself. Self-help is always difficult by itself. But it's taking you through the questions, the thought exercises, the openness, the vulnerability that I try and uh, take someone through on a very deep dive journey within themselves. Do that in a self-help book form. So the first part you can read easily. Second part you can read it easily, but if you do the exercises, it's a bit of a God, that's a tough question to answer, but it takes you through that. And I was very pleased with it, and Penguin were pleased with it because it wasn't just a book on, it wasn't a self-help book in the normal sense. It wasn't just say these five affirmations and we'll be okay. It was like, here's why affirmations don't work. Okay, here's why this doesn't work, and here's what does. And that's what I wanted to do because I'd seen thousands and thousands of hours of clients, and then they'd read the books, and it hasn't worked, and it didn't work for me either. So I wanted to say, let's write something that does work if you do it. And that's how the book came about.
I love it. That's absolutely wonderful. Um, so, and you said that they can find it on Penguin. Is it available on Amazon as well?
Yeah, all the
Or
usual online bookstores.
Penguin,
Yeah,
so everything. Okay,
yeah, yeah,
that
it's
makes
everywhere.
sense.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Uh, so if my clients, I would take it that you do this internationally, that you can do this, right? Because you
Yeah,
are
sure.
in Britain.
Yeah, yeah.
So, where would they start in regards to connecting with you?
Well, if they just want to chat, first of all, my website, andrewparr.org. If they go there, there's a little button. You can just book a call. We'll have a little chat, just a 20, 30-minute chat, and uh, see if your situation fits what I can help with. I can usually help with most people, but it's always nice to be reassuring, first of all. Have a chat and just listen to the story, and I'll see if I can point out a few areas where I think, okay, here's where I think you've got something going on that you probably are not aware of. Because most problems are what I call invisible beliefs or invisible conditioning. We're looking out for these prison bars saying, why am I stuck? Why am I stuck? And we can't see the bars we're holding. So usually what I do is I have a chat with someone, and usually within 10, 15 minutes, I can point out a few areas and say, look, this is an area for you to work on. This is something you can't see for yourself. This is probably where we need to go deeper if you want to. And I do that first of all, and that's free of charge. There's no problem. Anyone can just get in touch and have a chat, and we can arrange one of those. If they do want to take it further, then we can arrange to work together by Zoom or whatever it is. But that's the first step. It's just, yeah, book a call. Let's have a chat and see what we can do to help you.
I love it. So everyone, that is Andrew Parr, PARR.com.
No, .org, O-R-G.
Oh, .org. Sorry,
Yeah.
.org. Okay.
AndrewParr.com
Very
is a Canadian, he's a Canadian golfer, I think. So
Oh, that's okay. Make sure it's .org.
so, yeah. Yeah, he'll go,
It's
what
funny
the hell's this?
because we have at where I work, we have a .ca ending, and
Right,
so
okay.
many people, because it's a business, they automatically figure it's
Yeah.
.com. I have no idea when they do to .com where it goes to. I should try and find out, but yeah.
Sure.
Well,
Something people
I
should
really
one more
yes.
thing, if that's okay, lovely. Something people should be aware of is often therapy is associated with a very long, drawn out process. We got to talk about stuff and go into your past and dig into things, and it can feel very painful, like going into therapy for a long period of time. But if you do it that way, that's okay, but it can take a long time. And when I'm working with someone, just so people know this, it's quite intense. But instead of just talking and talking and talking about things, we're just going down through those layers of thoughts, feelings, beliefs, emotions, fear, stuckness, like a vertical thing rather than talking about stuff. And when you do that, you can get transformations far quicker than people realize. I think the fastest person I ever helped with bulimia was 50 minutes was the one session. And I was saying to her, it usually takes me 3 or 4 sessions at least. And she said, no, I want one session. I said, really? I said, I can't promise that. I said, my average is 3 to 6 sessions. She says, no, one session, we're going to do it. I said, okay, all right, fine. And she was just ready for it. And I took her through the process. We hit this very surprising cause of it, which is like, wow, that was a good one. She had the big release I looked for, and she went away. And I said, stay in touch. She said, okay. And I heard nothing. And then about a month later, she just said, I want to just say thank you. It went after that session. And I haven't even thought about it since. So thank you so much. So I cannot promise that, but just so people know, when you hit that little knot where it is, things can change very, very quickly. And usually, an average length of time could be something like maybe 3 to 6 sessions spread over a couple of months, and we would typically get you out of it in that sort of time scale. So it's not long drawn out approach. And I think it's good for people to know that because they can feel like they're stuck with it forever, but you don't have to be, and you don't have to manage it forever. You did it yourself. You came about your own way. You got to that stage. You went through things. You let go of things. And in the kind of therapeutic environment, we're trying to recreate what you did in your life, but condense it down into a short scale. So you get that moment that says, I don't need this anymore. And then you can move on. And that's the beautiful moment where I was looking to get people to.
And that is very important because it's nice to hear 3 to 6 sessions and not 6 months to a year.
Mm.
Well,
Yeah.
whenever it happens. And I'm sure that it's possible that with some it may be prolonged, but the fact that um, you're generally 3 to 6 sessions with the success in finding that is a phenomenal. And um, if I had known you back then, I would have called you up because I tried all sorts of things. I tried,
Mm.
psychologists, psychiatrists, counselors,
Yeah.
um, Overeaters Anonymous. That was not one thing that I worked well with, and yet it works well with some people, and that's the whole point. Some things work, some things don't, and I want my
Mm.
listeners to find what will help them so that they succeed because it's what you said. When you let go, there are some challenges of dealing with the emotions that you were,
Mm.
you know, suffocating, so to speak. But there's a freedom to it, an amazing freedom to it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And ultimately, it comes down to a lot of self-acceptance. And I don't just mean that as in we read it in a self-help book and do 5 affirmations, I accept myself. It's got to be a real deep feeling of, yeah, actually, I'm worthy of love. And more than that, I'm worthy of self-love. That if you can get to that point, I'm worthy of self-love. I am worthy of my own love and acceptance. When someone gets to that point, a lot of things shift in their life. And that's what we've got to peel away the barriers to that. And that's a feeling concept I'm trying to help people get to as well. Because you got I'm worthy of self-love. That's the foundation for so much. And then life life can transform when you get to that point.
That's funny because I mean, I've been on my own for quite a while, but I really enjoy my own company.
Mm,
and
good.
uh
Yeah.
and I do love myself, and I don't mind saying that. There's times I annoy myself. I mean, I still talk to
Mm,
myself with that, I'm going, "Oh my
sure.
gosh, if I'm annoying myself, what
Mm,
do I do to other people?" It's like but, um, but it's such an amazing feeling, and that's not just it's internal love, it's even I look at myself, I'm getting older, I'm getting wrinkled, and I appreciate all of that. Like, it's not I'm I know it's different for different people, but for me, aging is it's a gift, and if it means another wrinkle on my face, another year, it's it's a gift, and so, but in all those contexts, my physical appearance, my internal feelings, um, my confidence and all that, has really changed, as you said, and it really does make a difference in your life. And self-love, it's so important. It's so important to sit there and you can even look in the mirror and go, you know what, I really like being with you. Like it's like it's fun
well
to
done.
be
Yeah,
there.
that's good. Yeah, and you, as you said that, I don't know if you noticed, you moved your hand here, which is that's where you got to feel it. It can't be an intellectual thing. You've got to feel it inside, right
Yes.
there. When you get that feeling there, then you know it's hit home. And
Yep.
then you can take it out into the world and do what you want with it, or stay at home and just have fun. It's okay.
Right.
Whatever
Oh
you
no, I
want.
get out there to the work
Mm,
too.
mm,
And I love what I do. It's very people oriented. Uh and I think that's a big thing too. When you love yourself, you can deal with because it's not always, I have a really good job. Most people are super happy when they're coming to pick up their cars, but if they're used and there's little things there and that, and the people are upset about it, loving yourself makes you more aware too of your
mm,
feelings and your frustrations and turning it around. And that's
mm.
self-awareness. Instead of thinking, "Oh my goodness, I could really use like, a bag of chips right now." It's like
There are
so
those times when a bag of chips are like, oh, that's the perfect thing. But yeah, we don't need to use it as a compensation. It's like an expression of self-love. I fancy a bag of chips, I'm gonna have it. That's okay. So yeah,
exactly.
absolutely. Good. But Lauren, it
Well,
sounds like you're doing amazing things and well done. Really brilliant. I often say to people
thank
when I
you.
meet people like yourself who've been through a lot, I always say, look, to me, you're what I might call an everyday hero. We all are in a way. And in a different world, there'd be a medal. Just here, have a medal for making it this far. And I think that the world, rewards people in different ways. And the resilience you've had to show to get to where you are and reach this place is, you can feel it, and you radiate that yourself as well. So well done for that. I just wanted to acknowledge that just chatting to you because I've spent a lot of time talking to a lot of people and I get a good feeling for people when I chat with them. And well done. Yeah, you've been amazing. So you've done it.
Thank you. And I appreciate what you do as well. And to my listeners, seriously, it really does help to reach out. That's the first step. And whether it's to a friend or family or to Andrew, that's it's important. You need to have that
Yeah.
support there in order to move to the next step. So I appreciate everything, and thank you for sharing your story and where it all began. Um,
No, you're
my
welcome.
heart felt that for you too. You've gone through challenges. I can't imagine losing my parents that young. I'm lucky. My mother is still alive, even
Wow.
so. Yeah,
Wow.
I'm with her here at home, and
Mm.
my dad only passed away 4 years ago at 90, so as much as
Gosh.
it's still hard, doesn't matter what age they go at, but being
Mm.
young and losing your parents, that is very difficult, and to lose that guidance and support is very difficult, so you've done super well too, and I love that you shared this with us, and, okay, and everyone, the real you is ready to come out, so
Yes.
thanks again, Andrew.
Yeah, no, you're very welcome. I just a little final thought as well for people. You mentioned about the shame of this. Okay, people have to realize there's nothing wrong with what they're doing. There's nothing wrong at all. If they're being bulimic, there's nothing wrong with that. There's something wrong with what happened to them that's make them feel that way. But there's nothing wrong with what they're doing. It's just a way they've chosen to cope with how they're feeling. There's nothing wrong with it at all. And if they can realize that and accept that, that it's easier to reach out. And someone like you, someone like me, we can accept people unconditionally. It's okay. There's nothing wrong with you. There's just something wrong about what you've been through. And if we can undo that for you and make it right, then you can feel different, then you can feel better. And I think it's really important to understand that. I'll stop talking
I
now.
appreciate those words. Thank you. All
All
right.
right,
Well,
lovely.
thank you again for being here. And I really, really enjoyed this. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me. It's been a real pleasure. Thanks, Lorianne. And thank you, everybody, for listening. Stay with it. Well done. Keep going.
Thanks.
Talk.